Hello everyone, I'm Siddharth from Digit.in and today we have with us the Nokia G20. It is the latest budget phone from HMD Global with features like a 48 megapixel quad camera setup on the back, a 5050 mAh battery that is claimed to last for over 3 days, and a functional design that looks and feels very comfortable to hold in the hand. Now the Nokia G20 is priced at Rs 12,999 and it is available in two colors, Glacier and Night, with 4GB of RAM and 64GB storage. We have been using the Nokia G20 from a week now, testing its real-world performance and seeing how it is able to handle day-to-day tasks. So let's have a look. Now this phone is really well built. It is still made of plastic and has this patterned design which provides it some grip. There is a circular camera module that houses the 4 cameras and an LED flash. It comes in two colors, Night, which is what we have with us here. It is essentially blue color with purple hues, and the other color is called Glacier, which is essentially the white color. It has a thickness of 9.2 mm and weighs 197 grams, so it is not entirely thin and light, but you won't feel any added heft when holding it in the hand. It has a comfortable grip and it also comes with splash protection, though it is not officially IP rated, likely to save costs. You get the power button on the right side, which doubles up as a fingerprint reader along with volume controls. On the left side, there is a SIM tray slot and a dedicated Google Assistant button. On top is a 3.5mm headphone jack, and right at the bottom we get a Type-C port and a speaker grill. The display on the G20 measures 6.52 inch but only offers a HD Plus resolution, which is a bummer for a phone in this price range. The screen has a water drop notch cutout for the selfie camera and has a slightly wide chin with the name of the company. The display offers decent amount of brightness indoors, but its sunlight legibility goes for a toss in bright sunlight. The screen has a slight blue tint, and because it is a large display, the HD Plus resolution does little to produce sharp visuals. Of course, you can watch YouTube videos, Netflix, and even more movies and shows from different sources, but it does not translate into the best experience that you should ideally get with a phone at this price point. Honestly, the general day-to-day performance of the Nokia G20 disappointed me to the extent that I knew it wouldn't be able to hold off on its own in synthetic benchmarks. But before we even get into that, this phone just lags out of the box. There is more than just a second of pause whenever you start an app, which is a bummer. Be it Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, InShots, and more such apps, the G20 does not make the experience any smoother, as all these apps suffer from lags, stutters, and generally bad performance that I really don't think any user needs to go through. It is powered by the MediaTek Helio G35 processor that has an octa-core CPU running at up to 2.3 GHz and is paired with 4GB RAM and 64GB storage. There is an option to expand the storage via microSD card of up to 512GB. Like all the other Nokia phones, this one too runs on stock Android 11. Nokia promises 2 years of software updates and 3 years of security updates for the G20. Taking a look at the synthetic benchmark performance, it scored 1,14,421 points in AnTuTu test, which is pretty low for a phone at this price. Similarly, it scored 171 points in Geekbench single-core test and 932 points in multi-core test. We tested other benchmarks as well, and you should be seeing more scores on your screen right now. We tried playing some games on the Nokia G20 as well. From the most demanding titles like Call of Duty Mobile, Asphalt 9 to Candy Crush and more. As you would have imagined by now, the Nokia G20 is not a phone to play intensive games like Battlegrounds Mobile India and even Asphalt 9. While playing Call of Duty Mobile, we recorded the graphics performance of the G20 using GameBench. The G20 ran COD Mobile between 30 to 33 FPS with a stability of 75%, which is pretty bad in our experience. During our testing, the game experienced massive frame drops, stuttering, and lags, which spoiled our whole experience. So if you are looking to buy this phone for playing intensive games, we'd recommend you to look elsewhere because the G20 does not cut it. Having said that, if Candy Crush Saga is your go-to game, you need not worry about the high performance as the G20 is able to run it perfectly. Another very important thing to note about G20 is that it only supports 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi, which means that you won't be able to experience high-speed internet connectivity even though you may be paying for it with your ISP. As a result, browsing, streaming, and downloading is always slow on the G20. I never got past 30 to 35 Mbps speeds with the G20 on speed test and fast apps. There is a single speaker unit that is positioned right at the bottom, which is decent and nothing extraordinary. If you listen to music regularly, you will be better off with using a pair of earphones as it thankfully has a 3.5mm audio jack. As for the fingerprint reader, it works just fine and is able to unlock the phone very quickly. The Nokia G20 comes equipped with a 5050 mAh battery, which is a decent addition, but it does not support fast charging. This means that it takes forever to fully charge, but the battery life is good enough for regular use. Some browsing, casual gaming, watching videos on YouTube, and checking out our social media feeds, the G20 easily gave us 2 days worth of battery life on a single charge. 30 minutes of watching a TV show on Netflix, the battery dipped to 6%, and playing Call of Duty Mobile for 15 minutes, it dropped further by 5%. Using the 10-watt charging adapter that comes with the phone, it took nearly 3 hours to fully charge the G20 from 0 to 100%. There are 4 cameras on the back of the Nokia G20. There is a 48 megapixel primary camera with an f1.8 aperture, followed by a 5 megapixel ultra-wide camera, a 2 megapixel macro lens, and finally a 2 megapixel depth sensor. For selfies, there is an 8 megapixel camera on the front. Both the rear and the front cameras can record videos in 1080p at 30 fps. The G20 also brings Ozo-spatial audio that captures surround sound for an immersive experience. In daylight, the cameras of the G20 make some good Instagram-worthy images. The pictures look bright and colorful with natural tones and minimal distortion. For instance, this image of a flower was taken in daytime after a spell of rain when the weather started clearing up. You can notice the tiny droplets of water and a fly that came out pretty sharp in this image. Generally, this camera performs well if the subject in your frame is still, because too much movement in the frame creates blurry pictures. The camera takes a bit to nail down the focus you selected, but once it does that, you get a clear picture. Having said that, some of the pictures fail to retain detail and sharpness when viewed at 50% crop or 100% crop ratio. That being said, the primary camera performs best in daylight and in well-lit conditions, but as you get closer towards the end of the day, it will start showing its weaknesses. The other cameras, including the ultra-wide, macro, and depth sensor, fail to produce decent pictures and do not justify their existence. The ultra-wide camera is able to produce pictures with decent saturation levels, but the details in the frame goes for a toss. While there is minimal barrel distortion in these pictures, the corner of the images barely have any details. The macro camera needs well-lit environment to produce any usable image, but it is overall a hit or miss affair. The camera app recommends users to keep at least 4 cm distance from the object they are trying to capture, but there should be ample amount of light falling on that particular object if you want a detailed macro shot. During night or in low-lit environments, the cameras just straight up make bad and unusable pictures. These nighttime images are filled with noise and do not have any details. Here, the night mode does very little to help and just smoothens out the textures and bumps up the highlights. So, final thoughts. The Nokia G20 feels very displaced for its asking price. Neither does it perform well in day-to-day use for us to be able to recommend it, but it also does not have any exciting features that you're missing out on. the display on the G20 is average at best, but you will easily get a better option in this price bracket. Similarly, when it comes to performance, there are phones like the Redmi Note 10 that offer better performance and is an overall complete package. The Nokia G20 is an entry-level phone at best and is far from a value for money offering for those looking for a phone under Rs 13,000. That was our review of the Nokia G20. Please feel free to comment down below if you have any questions regarding this phone, and we'll do our best to answer those questions. If you like this video, please hit that subscribe button so that you can get notified for whenever we put out a new video. Thanks for watching.